A very important day in our nation's history was July 13th of this year. It was the day that a jury acquitted George Zimmerman, bringing an end to the year-long battle that nearly split our country in half. I think it should have been handled quite differently. Should have been handled quietly in its own community between two people, two families, and a courtroom. But it was made into a larger issue, and that our larger issue was that of race. And it nearly divided our country in half as a result. It could have been tragic in its consequence, and we're not through it. Reading history, you will see that dividing the country is exactly what people like to do. The media sensationalized the story and turned it into a clash of races. But were they trying to report the truth, or were they trying to stir up old animosities? They've said that this is about civil rights. They say that it's about racial justice, about gun control. In fact, people on all sides have said that it's about everything except what it really should be about: a tragic night involving two men in Florida. But that's what the jury was forced to make it about. And that's why the jury delivered a verdict after discussing this case for 16 hours. They carefully looked at each piece of evidence, and after meticulous review, they found that nothing proved Zimmerman guilty of second-degree murder. And like it or not, this is the way our legal system works. Do I think George Zimmerman is a good guy? Well, I do know that I wouldn't have done what he did. I thought he was out looking for trouble in some ways. But I don't know him, so I don't know if he's a good guy or not. Do I think he was guilty of murder? No, I personally don't. However, I didn't think O.J. Simpson was innocent. But what I didn't do is call for a race war. What I didn't do is call for people to get out on the streets. What I didn't do is I didn't say we should gun him down in the streets. See, this is the way things work with the United States Constitution. George Zimmerman is an innocent man. So is O.J. Simpson. We are supposed to believe that all men are innocent until proven guilty. That doesn't mean we like them, but we don't gun them down in the streets. Apparently for others, that's not what they believe. The so-called civil rights leaders of today that are so far away from Martin Luther King that they can't even see facts anymore. They went straight for the race card. They used the death of a young man to stoke the flames of racism across the country. And now today the Smithsonian has asked for Trayvon Martin's hoodie for the museum. It's a big story. It's a turning point for our country because people have used a tragedy to profiteer from all of the fury emanating from those who bought into this phony narrative. A narrative that said a white man went in and angrily gunned down a sweet, innocent teenager in cold blood while he was just out trying to buy some Skittles. Meanwhile, the people who stood by the Constitution and said, let's rationally look at this, let this play out in the courts, were called racists. Even those who cried racism had no reason to believe Zimmerman was guilty. They still cried racism. The fact that he was white was good enough for them. But as it turns out, and we knew this day one, he's not white. He's as white as the president is white. He's half white, but we call the president black, and why don't we call Zimmerman Hispanic? He identifies himself as a Hispanic. Doesn't matter. The press and those who wish to stir up racism in our country said he was white. Doesn't matter. After the decision was made, Al Sharpton said it was one of the worst situations he has ever encountered.
Well, I think that this is an atrocity. I think that it is probably one of the worst situations that I've seen. What this jury has done is establish a precedent that when you are young and fit a certain profile, You can be committing no crime, just bringing some Skittles and iced tea home to your brother and be killed, and someone can claim self-defense, having been exposed with all kinds of lies, all kinds of inconsistencies. We had to march to even get a trial, and even at trial, when he's exposed over and over again as a liar, he is acquitted. This is a sad day in the country.
This is an amazing thing. I know Reverend Al Sharpton, he had me duped for a while. I thought he was trying to change himself, but he's not. He says many things that he doesn't believe. For the record, Trayvon wasn't just bringing home Skittles for his brother. Not according to his BFF, Rachel, who was texting him during the skirmish with Zimmerman. Rachel Gentile told Piers Morgan that Trayvon wasn't trying to kill anybody. He was just trying to, quote, whoop ass.
Do you think it was just wrong that you had no black people on the jury at all?
Not that. They don't understand. They understand, oh, he was just bashed or he was killed. When somebody bashed somebody, like blood people, trust me, in the era I live, that's not bashing. That's just called whoop ass. You just got your ass whooped. That's what it is.
Okay. So whoop ass is where you're bashing people where she lives and where Trayvon lives, where, quote, blood people dwell. And that's somehow or another different from trying to kill someone. But the problem here is, I guess, that Zimmerman didn't understand that this was just whoop ass and not a killing. And so he somehow or another overreacted and shot Trayvon. That's insane. And there's no way, no clear way to look at this case unless you have some standard out there. The one thing that's really not complicated is the role that race played in this. Because both sides in their testimony, both sides said race didn't play any role in this case. So why the racist allegations? Why are they being thrown at anyone who dares to judge the case by the facts? Why can't people hear that the defense and the prosecution said race didn't play a role? Why are people insisting on making race the central issue when it's been said by everybody involved it wasn't any issue? When I was away traveling for the last month, this happened while I was on vacation. And I tweeted that the president was going to do the right thing. He didn't. He made an impromptu speech to the press, and he joined in on the race baiting. It seems while we examine the facts, the other side looks at nothing but skin color.